Welcome into the Blurred Wire. Today we have a very special episode that we actually meant to record like a couple weeks ago while it was still in theaters, and I think it's still in theaters if I'm not mistaken.
It is.
It
It
is.
is.
It's still in
I
theaters.
checked.
Okay.
Mhm.
Okay. So we're gonna be recording an episode about we're gonna be reviewing Alien Romulus and comparing it to the popular Predators franchise and the latest movie in that franchise called Prey. So this one is like Alien Romulus versus Prey. Because we both saw Prey. And we really like that movie. I just saw it recently again on Hulu. Horror movies are pretty intense for me, so I did not see Alien Romulus, but that's why I have Ty with me so he could talk about what made it. Because I've heard a lot of people talk about how it was like a return to form for the franchise and how fantastic it was. And like I said, me, I don't really do horror. Um, and I also have to talk about like how I got introduced to the Alien and Predator franchise because I didn't even know that it was a horror franchise for the longest time. But that we'll have to get into in a little bit. But first, let's talk about
Mhm.
what you guys all came to hear, and that is Alien Romulus. So Ty, what did you think about Alien Romulus?
Um, I thought it was one of the scariest, or just okay. Primer. I have to talk about the very ending of it,
Spoiler
to get
alert.
across how I feel about it. So
Spoiler
I
for
want to
Alien
say right
Romulus.
here,
Yeah.
yeah, I'm gonna have to spoil an Alien Romulus. Beforehand, just go watch it. It's amazing. I love it. If Alien, the original Alien, is like a top three movie of all time for me. It's probably
Wow.
like my
Okay.
favorite sci-fi movie of
Okay.
all time. It's definitely my favorite horror movie. It's been so incredibly influential for me on my whole life. I love that original movie. I love I love the kind of I almost feel it's almost like a spin-off, Aliens, the sequel, because it feels so tonally different. They're very
Mhm.
different movies. One is like a really intense, creepy horror movie. The other is this like action-packed like war movie at times. And
Mhm.
yet they both work. We can kind of forget about Aliens 3 and Aliens 4
That's what I've
Resurrection.
heard too, yeah.
Um, but those first two hold up the franchise as two main pillars. But Alien Romulus, we've had attempts in the past to kind of revitalize the franchise with movies like Prometheus or Alien Covenant, but they never truly felt like alien movies. They always
Mhm.
felt like their own, like mythological kind of movie. They felt built up around these great myths.
Because Ridley Scott directed Alien, and then James Cameron
Yes.
directed the sequel, Aliens. But
Yes.
then Ridley Scott came back and he did Prometheus and Covenant, if I'm not mistaken.
Yes, because
Okay.
he really wanted to. That's a whole other story. If we ever talk about those movies, it'll be a whole other
Yeah.
thing. But
Hmm.
he wanted to explore something different. This Alien Romulus, directed by, uh, I'm probably not going to say it right, so
Like
apologies.
Fede Alvarez?
Fede
I think it's
Alvarez.
Fede Alvarez, yeah.
Fede. Okay.
Hmm.
Um, it really felt like Fede was himself a big fan of the Alien franchise
Okay.
because there is a lot of referential treatment in this movie. There's a lot of what I'd say like callbacks. There's a lot of rehashing of iconic lines that feel very fan servicey at times, and in
Hmm.
other circumstances would maybe bring it down a few pegs for me because it feels too fan servicey. But I am of the camp that a lot of the referential things we get from this movie feel like they're kind of subverting a lot of the expectations or subverting those moments
Hmm.
from previous movies.
Okay.
Um, like for example, there iconically they use a Sigourney Weaver wields a flamethrower in the franchise, and
Uh-huh.
in this movie they have a like essentially an ice thrower. I think
Okay.
it's like the fuel from like the cryo tanks, and it shoots out a beam of like it looks like liquid nitrogen or something.
Okay.
Very icy, but it's similar, and a very similar effect, but it feels subversive in it. There's a
Yeah.
period where the group of kids are trying to escape um the ship Romulus, and they're willing to abandon the people didn't who didn't get infected with the alien, with the face hugger. Whereas in the first movie, there's a long like debate as to whether or not to let that person in. And there's a lot of little moments that I will have to like rewatch this movie like a bunch more times and compare them to other moments from the franchise just to feel
Hmm.
how like intentionally subversive these moments are. Uh, but it felt very loving, and it felt closer to like the horror roots. And I
Hmm.
think that is punctuated by the very end of the movie, where we get this absolutely horrific monster at the end that is an evolution of the alien. And it's my kind of horror. It's the kind of horror that scares me.
Yeah.
I really hate things that look like people but are not people. And the monster at the very end of this movie is like a what's the uncanny? It's like an uncanny valley human alien hybrid thing, and it is terrifying, and it
Okay.
literally had me gripping. My wife and I had to grip our seats in the movie theater because we were so scared. Like it had me pushed back as far as I could go.
It's
I've
like
never been so tense.
because like with the xenomorphs, they're face huggers, like suction onto your face, and they
Hmm.
lay their eggs inside of you, right? And then like the xenomorphs come out of the humans and they grow into
Yes.
xenomorphs. So is this like how do they do the hybrid animal like human xenomorph thing at the
So
end?
I'll try to truncate it. There's from Prometheus. Did you ever see Prometheus or
I
Alien
saw
Covenant?
Prometheus. I didn't see Covenant, but I
So do
did
you know
see
the
Prometheus.
do you know the black goo?
Yeah, yeah,
The
I
black
remember
goo?
that. Hmm.
Essentially the android from the original Alien film was on this ship, and he was helping. It was a part of a team who were trying to take the alien goo and turn it into a way to make humans like close to immortal or something akin to immortal, make humans into super beings instead of building androids as like the capitalist society of the alien franchise is built upon, like
Hmm. Okay.
really like almost like indentured servitude labor,
Yeah,
like work for pennies and you're owned by the company.
yeah.
uh and so they try to make this goo and they say it works, but shocker, it doesn't. It turns things into horrible monsters, but they don't know that.
Oh,
And
okay.
so a woman who is pregnant is like close to death, and they were told give that to her, it will stabilize her. And they give it to her, and then her baby that like rapidly develops and
Hmm.
kind of claws its way out early.
Hmm.
And that's what becomes it. Like it grows a tail, and it's like on all fours, and like there's periods where it's just kind of standing upright, and it's I
Yeah.
don't think I don't think looking at like a screenshot of it would do it justice. In the moment, especially going in blind, and I know
Not
if
knowing. Yeah.
anyone's here waiting for a recommendation, like you know it now. I did not know that this thing was here. I did not get that
Mm,
spoiled for
okay.
me, and I'm so eternally grateful for it because that would have made it's like terror much less.
Yeah, I mean
But
that's the
not
whole point of
knowing that
horror.
it's there and seeing it
Yeah.
is absolutely terrifying. And so to me, to end cap that this whole little rant I've had,
Hmm.
um, Alien Romulus feels like it understood what people like me really loved about the original Alien,
Hmm.
and tried to pay homage not just to it but to the franchise it has birthed, and tried to
No
even
pun
keep up
intended.
with some of the thematic
Because you said the franchise that it has birthed, and I was like,
birth.
no pun intended, because the pregnant ladies with the
Yeah.
aliens, how it always does that. Anyway, go ahead.
Yeah. Um, but it's like it wanted to pay homage and be a love letter to this franchise. And
Mhm.
I feel if we get more sequels going forward, I want it to feel more like Alien Romulus
Yeah.
because because it feels like it understands what made it special in the first place.
Now, if you want to, we can come back to this at the end, but in your opinion, should Alien, I was going to ask you that and you kind of brought it up. Should Alien Romulus be like the end of the Alien franchise, or do you want to see more in some whatever fashion, whatever they choose to do? Do you just want to see more from the Alien franchise? That's now,
Um,
oh, what, 45 years deep now? 45 years? Anyway, go ahead.
wow. No, 50. No,
Well, first one
45.
was 79,
Yeah,
yeah, so
45.
49. Hmm.
45. Yeah, you're
45.
right. Um, I think Alien is a timeless franchise at its core
Hmm.
because well, while the first four relied really heavily on Sigourney Weaver, I think in
Hmm.
principle, like the messaging and the alien itself can be translated to different settings to
Hmm.
where I would love to see more out of this
Another
franchise.
one.
I am certainly not done with Alien. I just
Mhm.
want them to, I just want whoever makes it, like with anything else, to feel really creatively inspired when they're making it. I just
Yeah.
don't want Alien to be the like catalyst for a cash grab. You know, I
Mm.
just want it to be artistically devised, and
Yeah,
that's
yeah.
all.
Artistically developed. Yeah. Do you think Fede Alvarez is the right director to do another one, or do you kind of like seeing different? Because really, the only it's been James Cameron, Ridley Scott, and Fede Alvarez are the only ones that have directed a positively reviewed Alien franchise. Because whoever directed three and four, people were like, these suck.
I
So,
I think if Fede were to take the reins again, I liked his style, and I would
yeah.
love to see them at the helm again. I think if they do, though, I would want to see something a little bit more original because I will say that's the one thing
Okay.
that holds this movie back a little bit. As much like simultaneously, it feels very much like a love letter, but it's
Hmm.
also a little stuck in its roots to where I want to see like at the monster at the very end felt like whoa, out of nowhere, I'm terrified and I'm loving it. I want
Hmm.
to see what he does if he makes a whole movie like that and not just
Okay.
truncate that originality to the very end.
Yeah.
Even with like some you know some homages being flipped on its head, I want to see something totally original from Fede. And if he wants to do that in this universe, I think he absolutely can because I think that's what Romulus kind of proved.
Yeah, I think with the xenomorphs, like because the main character, like while it was Ellen Ripley, Sigourney Weaver's character for a long time, but because
Mhm.
it's about like essentially the xenomorphs, you kind of have a lot that you can pull off of and really keep going as long as you want. And I don't think it was until the other day, yesterday, when I realized that like xenomorph is like the term that they use for it. Like xeno literally means foreign or alien, and that's where you
Mhm.
get xenophobia and like it's the same
Mhm.
thing. And I was like, I had no idea until just like yesterday. I was just sitting and I was like, huh, I
Oh,
wonder if
really?
this, but yeah, I had no idea that it was like a Latin, but it was like connected.
Yeah.
But
I
yeah,
mean that's why it's
yeah,
just called like people just affectionately call it the alien
yeah.
because like
It's
its
literally what
name is
xenomorph means. Yeah.
means just
It
means
literally
alien.
means alien morph. Like that's all it is. So um yeah, so that's yeah, so I mean, if you've already seen it, obviously this is for people that have already seen it, because if you haven't, the horror part would have been ruined for you. But let's talk a little bit about Prey, because of
Yes.
course the Alien and Predator franchises were famously crossed over in the early 2000s, I want to say, and we got Alien versus Predator. And so this is why we have Alien versus Prey. Alien Romulus versus Prey is, it's kind of like a throwback to that. And it's also kind of funny because, like, again, me, horror movies, my entire family, nobody likes horror movies. We all hate them. We're not like grip the seat, like, oh, I want to be scared. Like, no, it's just never been a thing for us.
Mhm.
However, I was definitely raised on the Alien versus Predator movies. I remember seeing those as a kid many times. And they weren't, and I went back and realized they're rated PG-13. They weren't rated R, which is partly why people didn't um like them as much. But me as a kid, I had no idea that there was an Aliens franchise and a Predators
Sure.
franchise that was crossed over. I just thought
Hmm.
so like I spent a good part of my like adolescence almost thinking that the Predators were the good guys because they were
Hmm.
killing the aliens in the Alien versus Predator movies. So it was like, so then when I finally heard about the Predator movie with Arnold Schwarzenegger, I was like, he was fighting the Predator, but the Predators kill the aliens. What are you talking about? um, so it was a
Why
really
would they
fun
fight the
revelation.
predators?
Why would they? The Predators were helping them. And like in the first one, I think, yeah, for the most part, like rewatching Alien versus Predator movies, you can kind of see that the Predators weren't necessarily like the heroes. They were just kind of like there. You know what I mean? Like they weren't like the good guys, basically. They were just kind of the they were just fighting the aliens and the aliens were really bad. But it did kind of skew it to where like the predators were kind of like the good guys, honestly, because she's like, the enemy of my enemy is my friend in those movies, and they still hold a
Right.
special place because, like, again, I grew up on it. I watched them a lot.
Right.
Those aren't really really good movies at all. Um,
They they aren't, but like at the same time they are. It's like
yeah,
it's like how Madam Web is really entertaining to me, and it's because it's such a bad movie. You get into that kind of territory with AVP.
I think it's like it kind of gives us what we want because again, it wasn't necessarily the filmmakers that did this. The fans of Alien happened to be fans of Predator, I guess, and fans were clamoring for a crossover for a long time, and they finally did it. And it kind of ends up feeling like like while it was an official Alien versus Predator, because they changed so many things to the Alien and the Predator franchises, it kind of feels like it's out of the entire, like it kind of feels like it's its own franchise out of, like it's like a
Yeah.
spin-off or like a parody on it, like it doesn't feel
Yeah.
connected to the Alien or the Predator movies at all, just only by the fact that there's an alien and a predator in it. Like, one thing I realized, like a lot of the predator movies usually take place in jungles. That's like a huge thing for them because the predator can camouflage. That's like it's a big element in it. It happens in forests, and on Alien versus Alien movies, a lot of them happen in space stations, kind of like the dark hallways and all of that stuff. And both of
Mhm.
those elements were completely removed from the Alien versus Predator movies. See, they were just fighting basically in like a high school or whatever.
Right.
They kind of,
Wasn't there a temple, like a frozen temple in one
yes,
of
there
them
was a temple.
too?
Yeah. And the story
Like,
was that the predators would take the aliens to Earth, and then the predators would hunt the aliens to achieve their right to ascend. It was
mhm.
yeah, it was an interesting lore that they tried to put in there. And so that's
It
kind of what made it almost feels like a parody of the franchises itself.
it
Like,
it and two, like almost a fan fiction, like
yes,
with a
that's the right
big
word
budget,
for it.
like
Yeah.
a fanfic with a big budget.
Yeah, big budget fan fiction is how I would describe it. Let's take these two things and just smash them together.
Yeah.
Um, so that's why it's kind of like after that, after those two movies, the franchises just kind of went back on their own separate paths.
Mhm.
And so on my way to watching Prey, I watched Predator. No, it was The Predators. What was it called? It was one in 2010. They called it Predator or The Predator. It had Adrian Brody in it and Topher Grace. And then they made another one in 2018, I think just called Predators, which had Sterling K. Brown. And it's like you guys are like sometimes the names of them are like worse than like the Fast and Furious franchise, where you're just like, oh, we'll call it Predators or The Predator or like you can't really keep track with what they're actually called. Um,
Mhm.
so that's the first thing that Prey gets right. The title is awesome. It's a great title for the movie. We actually know where it is in the franchise. Um, and I think out of all the, like I said, I've never seen the 80s Predator ones before, but I think out of all of them, I think I like Prey the most. Just
Mhm.
because it actually gives us, a good story along with watching the Predator hunt down this girl and her tribe. Um,
Yeah.
and again, once I've realized that, like, hey, the Predators are not the good guys in this franchise, it made a lot more sense, first of all. And first of all, the actress that starred in that movie, she also was in the Avatar movie. I mean, the Avatar series that just came out this year. But I'm trying to remember her name and it's escaping me.
Amber,
Yes,
who
Amber
plays
Midthunder.
Naru?
Yes,
Midthunder. Hmm.
yes. She had a fantastic performance. Um, and I think, like I said, the cinematography was really good. I love how they returned it to. It's kind of like what you were saying with Alien Romulus, how they um they took nods from the first franchise but were able to refresh it and kind of renew it.
Hmm.
So this movie took nods from the earlier franchise, like, okay, Predator always happens in a jungle, okay, let's
Hmm.
do it in kind of like, let's do a forest instead. And taking it
Hmm.
back so far gives it, putting it, setting it in the past of like,
Right.
I don't know when it's exactly when it's supposed to be. Oh, 1719 is the time period. So setting it back that far kind of gives you a chance to refresh the environment while still making it feel like it fits with the entire franchise and like it makes sense within the context.
Yeah,
Um,
and it makes the Predator even like almost scarier because his technology is so
mhm,
much farther advanced than ours at the time.
mhm. Yeah, yeah, exactly. Okay, so I finally got the names of the movies. So here's how they go. The first one is Predator in 87,
Okay.
Predator 2 in 90, the
Okay. Following you so
2010
far.
one, yep. The 2010 one, instead of Predator 3, they decided to go Predators. So
Okay.
just Predators with an S,
Okay.
like how
And
they
an
did
S.
Alien and then Aliens, except this is
Yeah.
the third one, not the second one. And
Right.
then in 2018, they called it The Predator.
Okay. And so that by that logic, this one should have been called
The
what is it?
Predators.
Predator Tokyo Drift?
Either that
Predator
or The
Comanche
Predators.
Drift?
I think that would make sense. Oh my God. There's a hilarious pitch meeting where you gotta watch him where he's like, what are we gonna call this one? And it was like, the answer is obvious. Fast Five. And he's like, oh, are we gonna call it? It's so funny. I can't even like recreate it here. But anyway, so yeah, so that's the interesting names of the movies. And then you have Alien versus Predator and then Alien versus Predator Requiem. Came out in '04 and '07 respectively. So yeah, at the time when
Mhm.
those movies came out, I was like 7 or 8, and I probably was still young to watch them, even though they were PG-13. But I think my dad just bought them and he wanted to watch them, and he was like, I have kids in this room. But I'm gonna watch these movies whether these kids are here or not. So
Yeah.
that's just kind of what's going to happen because it's too early to send them to bed and they're not going to go to sleep. So
Right.
yeah, I saw those when I was like 7 or 10 years old. So, um, but yeah,
Well, we do have a new Predator in the works as well, though.
yeah, I see Predator Badlands. I just heard.
Hmm. From
Okay,
the
yeah,
same
that should be.
director
Oh,
as
Ellie
Prey.
Fanning as Prey. Okay, and Ellie Fanning's really good too. So that should be interesting. Yeah, it kind of got me. Watching Prey helped me to further understand what the franchise is actually supposed to be. You know what I mean? It kind of helps you remember that it's like, because again, the Predator, like Alien is a horror franchise as well, but Predator is an action thriller franchise. It is not horror. So
Yeah.
that's why crossing them over kind of like, it was cool, but it's also like, okay, what direction do we go in? Are we doing horror or are we doing action thriller? Because there's a huge difference between the two. And I
Right.
feel like Alien versus Predator, they ended up going action thriller. Like there weren't very many horror elements, if at all, in those movies.
Right.
But for Predators and The Predator and Prey, like I said, all of them are action thrillers. And I would say thriller because there's some suspense in there. So like it's,
Hmm.
I'm not gonna say close to horror because it's still not. It's like the step before you get to horror. Like, before you get to there. That's where
Yeah.
thriller, mystery,
Very,
suspense kind of comes
very
in.
suspenseful. Hmm.
Yeah, yeah.
Like the time where she's hiding and then the bear comes up and she's in like the beaver dam, I
Hmm.
think, and then like the bear's in the river and then the predator kills the bear like that. Oh,
Yeah,
that seems
yeah,
scary.
yeah. No,
Like
and
has
the
me tense.
yeah, and I think that's what it's built to do. It's built to make you feel tense, and wonder like, how is she gonna do this? So it
Right.
was really cool watching her like observe the predator and try to figure out ways to beat it. Um, and I really loved the bear scene too. And then with and I thought it was really interesting having the French voyeurs come in one scene where they
Hmm.
were, because I guess it was like the alien was hunting the people and then a bunch of the French came over because this is around the time where Europe was coming over to the Americas. And the French guy was like the French people were also hunting the people, which created another
Mm.
interesting dynamic. And then when the predator came and just absolutely wasted all of them, he like offered her his gun for her to help him like get off. I mean, to escape, to get out of that area, to
Mm-hmm.
get off of the log that he was stuck on. So and then of course he still ended up dying because the predator found him and killed him very promptly. Um,
Yes.
but yeah, no, this entire film was it feels like it was supposed to be what the Alien franchise, I mean, what the Predator franchise was supposed to be. Um, and like I said, I don't think the like Aliens 3 and 4 kind of, as people say, like took away from the original Aliens, like they weren't really what people were looking for. But I would say Predators and the Predator, I think Predators was closer to the Predator franchise than it actually was. And I think I like it better than The Predator, even though The Predator has Sterling K. Brown in it, who's one of my favorite actors of all time. And has a lot of other good actors in that movie too.
Mm-hmm.
But Predators felt more like being hunted in a jungle one by one. Everyone is, being killed basically. Um,
Mm-hmm.
and it kind of had that same suspenseful energy, and it feels like it belongs in a jungle. It's just a weird environmental thing that can like change the entire dynamic of a franchise. But that's why, Alien Romulus takes place on a spaceship and not a high school swimming pool like Alien versus Predator. Like there's a
Right.
reason why they made those decisions, because it just makes more sense. No, that was Requiem where it took place in a high school. But anyway,
In the high
um,
school? Oh.
yeah, in the high school swimming pool, something like that. Um so and like I think Prey and Predator might even be tied like for me at the top as far as these franchises go.
Mm-hmm.
Um because I actually did end up enjoying, I thought I was gonna like The Predator more that came out in 2018, but I like Predators more than I thought I was going to. Um
Predators, the second one or the third one?
the third one. Yeah, see
Oh,
see
okay.
what, guys, please, better names. Like
Come
Predator
on.
3, like it would be so much
You
easier
liked
to like,
Fast 3 more than Prey?
oh my god.
So, did you get to see the original Predator or Predator 2?
I still haven't seen them.
Okay,
I still
neither have
haven't
I.
seen them. I got to go
Neither have
back
I.
and watch
It's a
them
big
at some
blind
point.
spot.
Yeah, yeah. I got to go back and watch them at some point because I know that's what's his, he just passed away too.
Carl Weathers.
Carl Weathers. Yes. I know he was in them.
Mm-hmm.
And so yeah, I really got to go back and see them. Um but yeah, no, overall, I thought Prey was a great movie. And I was telling you a little bit earlier, I feel like I would love to see like an Alien versus Predator 3. If they wanted to close out both franchises, just make a really good Alien versus Predator 3 that's like actually a watchable movie. And then we could just kind of end it there. But based upon the fact that like Alien Romulus did so well at the box office and they're making another Predator movies, I think you're right. I
Mm-hmm.
think they're just going to it's going to be one of those franchises that just keeps going with different directors using these same creatures, but just in new ways. And I think it's
Yeah.
gonna probably gonna keep going for a long time. And I still wouldn't mind seeing a third Alien versus Predator movie. I'm just like, and like it might be hard to decide where you go as far as like horror versus thriller. But just find a balance and get it because I do enjoy watching the Predators kill the aliens because I mean, they
I,
still had the same like face hugging aspect in Alien versus Predator, so like I knew like all of that as well. It is just
right.
satisfying to watch the xenomorphs get cut to bits. Like I'm just, this can't lie. It
Yeah,
is
with their
immensely
acid
satisfying.
blood.
Yes.
It's I think I think the appeal for me is that it is such a like bad B movie kind of
Hmm.
experience watching Alien versus Predator. So to me, I don't even want it to be watchable or anything. Like I want it to be bad. Like
Just some senseless action.
set it at like high school prom. I don't know, man. Like just do whatever you want.
Oh,
I
I'm
just
like,
think it's hilarious that it exists at all.
I think it would be interesting. Let's try one with no humans.
No
That would
humans.
be interesting. No humans, just predators, like literally aliens versus predators. No humans at all. That's on some
That's it.
planet, and they fight, and like we probably wouldn't even have any dialogue. So that would make it a lot easier to write the script. Just no humans at all. just aliens versus predators.
Now, well, what if we did something drastic? What if we roped in a third franchise? What if we roped in
Um,
Kingdom of the Planet of the Apes? So it's Alien versus Predator versus the apes.
well, that would
They
be
they go to the planet of the apes.
AVAP. That would be
AVAVP.
AVAVP. I don't know if you could do two A's. That's my only hang up. It's just the title of
Oh,
it.
okay.
I don't know if you could do apes versus alien. That doesn't really roll off the tongue, you know. It's just it's
Yeah.
just I like the concept. I like where your head's at.
Okay. Okay. I'll,
Yeah.
I'll keep workshopping it.
Keep
See if I
workshopping
can't
ideas.
find a
What a
third thing for them to fight.
I mean, they could cross it over with If, you know, that big fluffy purple monster from If that came out earlier this year that Steve
What is
Carell
if?
voiced. It's the
What is if?
it's like this kids movie that came out earlier this year, starring Ryan Reynolds and John Krasinski. I mean, he's big and purple, but he could probably do some damage. I'm
He
just
could
saying.
probably he could probably take them.
Just watch him like well, imagine him clonking the predator and the alien's heads together.
Hey, speaking of like Ryan Reynolds, fourth Deadpool movie right here. Alien versus Predator versus Deadpool.
That I would pay to see. Yeah.
That
Or
and
just
I
make it
I
even
feel like
bigger.
that would work for Deadpool. Make that Deadpool 4
Hmm.
and have him fight the alien and the Predator.
And just keep going bigger from there. Batman versus Superman versus Alien versus Predator versus Deadpool. That is a money maker.
I love the idea at that point. It's mostly about the comics, but they just kind of have to shoehorn in Alien and Predator as it advances.
So let us know your thoughts about both movies. If you liked Alien, if you liked Prey, really any movie in the Alien and Predator franchise. We kind of talked about a lot of them in this one. And let us know if you'd want to see an Alien versus Predator 3. Feels like both franchises have kind of like, you know, righted the ships, so to speak, or like they kind of have a direction that they know they want to go in. So maybe it's something that could happen. I don't know. Possibly.
Here's
But let us know
hoping.
what you think. And let us know if there are any other movies that you really want to hear us talk about. Thanks for joining. Until next time.
Until next time.